Hi everyone, Alex with Beam It Up. Today we're going to continue with our Revit for Beginners series. It's going to be Architecture Basics Part 3. To my advanced and intermediate users, make sure you vote. I posted a video last night where you can choose between two fantastic topics. So make sure you vote so you get your video. To everyone, I remind you that this is Part 3 of our Architecture Basics series. So if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, I'm posting links at the video description so you can watch them in order and follow along a little easier. We're going to do a quick introduction like we typically do. I'm going to give you some differences between Revit and AutoCAD. We're going to talk about plans versus 3D views. I'm going to show you the different visual styles that Revit has available. We're going to be cropping a view in Revit and deal a little bit with the text and annotations cropping as well. I'm going to show you how to temporarily hide and isolate elements in Revit. I'll give you a few tips for drafting. We're going to do a quick overview on families in Revit. I'm going to talk a little bit about hosted families and I'm going to give you my take on them. And we're going to be adding and modifying some windows. You ready? See you in Revit. And before we even start, think about it. It makes sense. If you like this kind of content, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. You hit that bell so you get notifications. You don't miss any of our videos. And if you have any questions about this topic or any other topic, make sure to leave me a comment and I'll try to get to you as soon as I can. Now let me show you something important. This is Revit, right? So let's go back to AutoCAD and I'm going to open up this floor plan view, right? And I want to show you that if I were to, let me change this real quick to architecture so that I can quickly draw a couple of walls, just as an example. Let's say these are some walls. Let's go back to piping. What I wanted to show you is that if I click here on the cube, you will get a 3D view out of that, right? So we're looking at the same thing from a floor plan. So this is a floor plan right here. This is a 3D view right here. In Revit, you cannot do that. A floor plan, this is a floor plan, right? You see how it's bolded out? It gets bolded out because it's the active view. So in Revit, a floor plan will always be a floor plan. It cannot be a section. It cannot be a 3D view. Okay, so you don't have a cube here for you to change a floor plan into a 3D view. But if you want to create a 3D view, it's fairly simple. Like you have one by default here, right? But say I didn't have that, let me delete it. You can easily create one just by going into the doghouse here and clicking on it. Just cancel out of that. That's my 3D view right here, right there. And then this 3D view will always be a 3D view. It doesn't matter if you put in a top orientation. It looks like a floor plan, but it is a 3D view. So this you can hold the shift and scrolling wheel and you will be able to orbit around it, right? Or you can use, this little gizmo here. But I just want to mention that because it's really important to know the difference between a 3D view and a floor plan. They behave completely different. They have different templates, different properties. So let's not get them mixed up. A 3D view will always be a 3D view. A floor plan will always be a floor plan. Now let's take advantage that we have our 3D view open here. And let's talk a little bit about visual styles. If I come here, my visual style is set to hidden line. I can have wireframe where I can see through things. I also have hidden line, which is the one I had before. It's hiding anything that is behind the other element. So if I turn it like this, that wall is going to hide all the doors and the walls behind it. Then you have your shaded, which is actually my favorite to, because the performance is really good and it gives you a good idea of what's what. You also have this realistic, which is really nice, but it taxes your system. Like this slows things a lot. In this case, we only have a few walls, but when you have a complex building with a bunch of elements, this slows it down a lot. So I typically just keep it in shaded for 3D views, but I wanted to show you the visual styles in Revit. Now let's go back to our level 1 floor plan and let's talk a little bit about crop regions. If you see down here, there's our crop view button. Right now it's not active. If I click on it, I'm cropping the view, but the cropping view boundary is not visible. In order to make it visible, I have to click here, show crop region, and now I can see it. So obviously it was not cropping anything because the boundaries are outside of our model. But if I were to do this, for example, let's say I want to show just the south aisle of this building, now I'm cropping my view. I can turn it off and I cannot see it. It is not visible, but it's still cropping. Or I can deactivate it, clicking here, and now I'm not cropping. These are the same controls that you have down here. So if you click here, then you're cropping. And if you want to make it visible, you make it visible. Now there's another cropping tool that is called annotation crop. And what that is that, let's say you had an annotation here. Let me just do a quick annotation here. Test annotation, right? And let's, give it an arrow here or something, right? So this is pointing at something very important here. Uh, and I don't want to crop it. So if you go like this and you want to crop a little bit your view, what's going to happen is that sometimes you're going to crop out some annotations that you want to keep. So that gets managed like this. If you hit an annotation crop, then a secondary one appears. See, so you can control them individually. If you get the annotation crop and you take it down, you can still see it. Let's say you had a part of another building here that you don't want to show. You can easily take, like this, you would be showing it, but you take it up and then you crop that other building, but you keep your cropping region for the text outside of your annotation so you can still see your annotations. So let's delete this annotation here. Let's adjust our cropping box. Let's adjust our cropping boundary here. Looks pretty good to me. Let's talk about temporary hide and isolate. So you could, for example, select this door here and you could isolate the category. That would isolate all the doors. Let's do it. Here you go. Right. You can reset the temporary hide isolate just like this. It goes back to normal. You can click here and just isolate that element like this. Or you can do something similar, reset, but hiding. So you can either hide this particular element like this, hide element, right? You're hiding only that particular door. Let's reset it. Or you can click on the door and hide all the doors. You can hide the category right here. Now you're hiding all the doors. And now if you want to see what's temporarily isolated or temporarily hidden, you can go here to reveal hidden elements, and then you'll see all the doors that you have. Okay, so let's just reset that and let's get out of here. So that's formally referred to as the view control bar. I think I call it status bar in the past. Status bar is this one. Okay, so this is the view control bar. Now let me give you a couple of quick tips here for drafting. For example, if I click on the wall and I want to do the same wall again, I can hit CS for create similar. And now I am drafting the exact same wall. So you can see how I'm kind of like playing around and just like that, I have a bunch of walls already, created. So I can probably extend this. Notice that this wall here and that wall are not aligned. So I can do AL for align and then align that wall to this wall. And then I can do TR for trim and do something like that. By the way, I keep hitting all these keystrokes. If you want to know which ones they are, you can do KS for keystrokes, and then this will pop up. That's where you can see what your keystrokes are, and you can assign new keystrokes to different commands. Now let's finish up this little section here with a restroom. So I'm going to do create similar. I have this wall. I'm going to do create similar. By the way, if you hit enter, Revit repeats the last command. So my last command was keystroke. So if I hit enter, that's keystroke. But if I hit wall, and then I draw a wall from here to here, and then let's say I hit escape and I get out of the command, and I hit enter again, then I'm back to my wall command. You see? So I'm going to align this wall to this wall and do TR for trim. Let's do some more doors. Click on the door, create similar. By the way, everything that I'm placing in my model is a family. So let's talk a little bit about families after placing this couple of doors here. So as I was saying, this door is a family, this wall is a family, this lavatory is going to be a family, this toilet is a family. Families are typically smart 3D geometry that contain information. Family is a very extended concept. So even views are families, sheets are families, title blocks are families, pipes, ducts, walls are families. We're going to get into families a little bit later, but for now, let's just get a basic understanding on what families are. So let's click on this door, for example. I'm going to do edit family, so you have an idea of what they are. And you can see that this can go to views down here, 3D views. So right now, that's my 3D view. That's my 3D door. If I go to the floor plan, the ground floor has a door, has a bunch of parameters, it has some constraints, and it has a certain behavior. So if I click here, it has some parameters. See the door height, the door width, and so on. And typically you would have, but this is a family that contains a bunch of similar types. What they mean by types is, well, it's something that has a width, it's something that has a height, it's something that has a swing. So since they're so similar, they group it under the same family, and those are like little cousins or brothers, depending on how you want to see it. So that's a quick overview on families. There are different types. There are system families. There are wall-based families, like this lavatory here, or this wall-mounted toilet that you see here. You have reference-based families. We'll get into that later. For now, let's just keep going.
And if you're enjoying the content, there are many ways you can support it. You can like, subscribe, and leave a nice comment down there. You can spread the word, share it with your coworkers and in relevant social media. You can join our Patreon community at the address listed on the screen. It's also in the description. And if you know any small MEP firms that could use BIM implementation services, you can recommend me.
And something that's very important to note here is that there are some hosted families, like this door, for example. The door always goes in a wall, just like windows go in walls, eh, or maybe this wall-mounted lavatory would need a wall to host it, right? And it's an important concept because if I were to delete this wall, see, the door went away with the wall. So we have to be very careful about that because yes, in the architectural world, this is beautiful because, if you delete a wall, you wouldn't want to have a door right in the middle of nowhere. So you would want that door to disappear, right? But then let me hit undo here before I forget. But then if you have, let's say, this wall-mounted lavatory here, and then you're hosting it to a wall, and then the architect moves that wall to here, and then you're hosting your lavatory to that wall, and then you update, then all your plumbing can get destroyed just because the architect moved his wall 6 inches to the left. So we have to be very careful on how we do things. I particularly am not a big fan of wall-hosted MEP elements, especially in plumbing. Like if you have an electrical outlet, for example, that's not a big deal, because an electrical outlet can be here, and if your wall moves here, well, it just moves, and then it's just wires. It's just symbolic connections. Nothing breaks, nothing gets destroyed. But if you have like HVAC diffusers that are hosted to a ceiling, and that ceiling tries to get lifted, then it can destroy a lot of your ductwork just because, the architect wanted to lift the ceiling a little bit. So let's be careful about that. Now let's talk about file types a little bit. If I have this door, let's go back to edit family. So this is a family, right? And if I want to save this, you'll see that if I do a save as family, you'll see that the extension is RFA. So .rfa are families in Revit. Projects are RVT. So if I were to save this project, I try to do a save as, then you see that the extension is RVT. So that's a Revit project. And now if I wanted to save this project as a template, and I were to do save as template, then the extension for it would be RTE. So again, RVT for your projects, RFA for your families, and RTE for your templates. Let's add some windows. From the Architecture tab, let's click here on Windows, and let's select, actually, let's keep this one, 36 by 72. And let's place a window here. Notice that if I go up or down with my mouse, I can have the window flip, right? So this is the correct orientation. And now let's go to 3D view to see what's happening. This window doesn't seem right. So I want the sill height to be, let's say, at least 2 feet, right? And, this is a very tall window. I would like it to be more wide than high. I would like, let's say, a 60 by 72. I don't have that available. Luckily, Revit is pretty friendly when it comes to duplicating and modifying things. You just go here to Edit Type, and then here you click on Duplicate, and then let's change the name first to 60 inches by 72, right? Now that's our new name, but notice that our width is still 3 feet. We don't want that. We want it 60 inches. So let's change it to 60 inches. Now let's hit OK. That's our new window. Boom. So let's place a bunch of those here to get some light in there. So you can either create similar. This one's a little bit too far away. So let's do something like that. And we're totally disregarding the architect's intention here, but this is just, for us to practice how to place windows. So let's place a couple more here and a couple more here. And we're totally disregarding also, the distances from the walls and all that. We just want to get some light in there. It's looking pretty good. It seems like they're a little bit too low. One thing that we can do is select all instances visible in view, and then we can change the sill height of all of those to, let's say, 3 feet. That's looking a little better. So now we have those windows. And what I want to do is use those windows to explain view range in a future video. So for now, let's just drop it, and I'll see you in the next video.
And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like it down there. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you get notified. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.